All right, welcome back to Terrible Fishing, everybody. I figured I'd do a summation. In a second, I gotta do my little thingy. And that's gonna happen 80 seconds. Alrighty. A summation of what, Mike? Well, this weekend we're going to go to the coast, so hopefully I'll be able to do some fishing over on the coast. But, you guys seen that I bought a bike, an e-bike. E stands for eek, because when I get on it, I go eek. So, I've shared some of the points on how I purchased this bike. So, let's go over it just a little bit. First, you got to have a budget. And sometimes the bike will determine the budget. Now, e-bikes, they have motors. Strong ones, weak ones. One motor, two motors. And I'm a big guy. Believe it or not, I'm 300 pounds. And I live on a hill. So what does that require out of my bike? Well, it requires what we call torque. And torque is strength. It really is. Pickup trucks have torque, strength, pull things, muscles. And so I need, and torque is measured in what's called NMs, nanometers. Newton meters. And so when you look at motors or bikes, you're going to want something that has a lot of Newton meters. And it'll have a number like 80 Nm, 85 Nm, etc., 60 Nm. That's a wuss. So what ends up in order to get me up my hill. Now, if you live on a flat area, there's not a lot of hills in your area, you could really get away with much lesser. But since I'm a big guy, and if I was half this weight, I could go with a one motor, bike. But I went with a two motor bike because that gives me 150 Newton meters. And that's plenty to get me up the hill and it's steep. If you watch some of the videos, it's steep. So I had to sort of, think, all right, that's the strength of motors that I needed. Now, where am I going to ride this thing? Well, I'm going to ride it, long distance. So now I need a battery that is big. And, that has a lot to do with the motors and the weight of the rider and the weight of the bike. I know there's some variables in there. So I looked at bikes that have like 20 amp hour batteries on up. 20 amp hours on up. I bought a bike with 30 amp hours because it has two motors. And that would draw more power if I used both. And that's a nice thing about two motors. You can use one or the other or both, or put it in what's called an eco mode. And so that's kind of neat too. So I picked a bike with 30 amp hours so I can get a lot of distance. Then I had to think, okay, where am I going to be riding it? Well, yes, on the pavement, and yes, on trails to get down to the water's edge. So I'm going to need some pretty beefy tires. And, I fish in the winter and stuff like that. So, and it snows here. So I need big, beefy tires to get through mud and dirt and snow and stuff like that. So I got what's called a fat tire, a 4-inch tire. And that gets me through on top of the muck and stuff like that to get me where I want to go. So next, I know, next, I go online and I look up all these variables that I put together on a piece of paper. So I need a fat tire, I need long distance, I need a lot of Newton meters. And I find bikes by lots of different manufacturers. Then I start making phone calls. You guys heard me say this. I make phone calls to these companies. Most of them never answer their phone. Most of them will not call you back. You email them, they will not return your emails. Chat with them on their website, it's a robot. So I went to their Facebook. Got one extra response that way, but really, you don't want to buy from a company that can't communicate with you. So after I called these companies and communicated in different fashions, I narrowed down the companies I wanted to buy from. So now I've got the parameters of my bike, which kind of dictated my budget, without getting crazy. And the companies I could buy from. And so now I can make a choice. and you can see the choice that I made, which was a company I'd never heard of called Berkta, but actually its parent company is Milestar. And Milestar is a huge company making some of the best tires in the world. And it's a Taiwan company. And I'm a little partial to Taiwan since I used to work there. And I love the Taiwanese people. I love their work ethics. So, kind of nice. Kind of nice. Now, there are some things that in hindsight, I wish I wanted to get a step through, which is, instead of step over, step through, because I'm 60 years old and a big guy. And I went to order a step through, but then they were out of stock. So I went to Berkta, which it looked like, the crossbar was a little lower, but it wasn't a step through. But it fit the bill for me. I will tell you that as we get older, you want to step through. You really do. But, you tilt the bike down, lift your leg over. No big deal, right? But step throughs are nicer. And you're going to want, maybe you want other features. Also, hydraulic brakes. You want hydraulic brakes. Because these bikes are heavy. They're big. I'm big. So basically, we're stopping 400 pounds, the bike and me. And so you really need to have good brakes on these things. So, and you want to make sure that you got that. Now, a way to reduce the height of the bike is to go with smaller tires. I went with 26-inch tires, but you can go 20-inch tires. And that lowers the height, and maybe you can get away with a step over if you have a hard time hiking your leg up. So that's kind of how I made the decision. Because I have a specific need, and use for this bike. And I have personal, issues with companies that can't communicate with you. So I did put a link down below. So if you want to, check out Berkta, use the link down below and support the channel. And there's also a coupon code down there for $50 off. And they got great deals right now. And I am just tickled to death about this bike. I mean, it scares me because it's very, very fast. I'm a little wobbly. But I took it on a trail the other day. I didn't hit a tree. I didn't hit my head on a rock. And I bought all the safety gear too. I mean, I don't mind looking stupid sometimes if I can look safe and be safe. And I don't think I look stupid, but I'm a big fat guy with pads on. And, it's just, at my age, vanity isn't just out the door. We don't care. Yeah. Yeah. But anyway, maybe these suggestions and this will help you. You could get some great e-bikes for under $1,000. Look at the Berkata site. They got some great e-bikes at under $1,000. They just, what I need them for, I needed to go a little farther, in features and get more features. And, if I was just to ride this thing around town, I'd probably get away with $700. But you're going to see when I get back from the coast, we're going to do a 20-mile trip. It's actually 10 miles one way, 10 miles back. And that's to a really good fishing hole. And I want to take the bike to it. Now, I got to fit the bike now for my fishing rods and for my fishing gear. So next is to fit the bike for everything I need to go on a trip. So, and that's kind of fun to do. That's fun to do. So anyway, I hope that if you are thinking about this, and you live in an area like me, we got water. I love Oregon. We got water all over the place. We got rivers. I got 4 rivers around my house. 2 lakes. No, 3 lakes. Maybe 4 lakes. I don't know. We got a bunch. Tons of water here. So, take care, everybody. Thanks for stopping by. Try the link down below. Check it out and see what you think about Berkata. It's like I said, it's kind of cool, actually. And e-bikes are, well, scary, but fun.